She helped a blind girl cross the street when everyone else walked by. Just a small act of kindness, nothing more. What she didn't know, the girl's father was one of the most powerful mafia boss in the city, and he'd been watching for someone exactly like her. Clara's sneakers were falling apart. She noticed it again as she speed-walked down Fifth Avenue, the sole of her right shoe flapping with each step. 2 more weeks, she promised herself. 2 more weeks, and I'll have enough saved up. The afternoon sun beat down on Manhattan's crowded streets. Suits and tourists brushed past her, everyone moving like they were late for something important. Clara checked her phone. 3:47 p.m. Her shift at Mel's Diner started at 4, and she was still 12 blocks away. "Excuse me, sorry." She dodged a man with a briefcase who didn't even look up from his phone. That's when she saw the girl. She stood at the crosswalk on the corner of 5th and 42nd, one hand gripping a white cane, the other clutching a small purse. She couldn't have been more than 17. Dark sunglasses covered her eyes, and her head turned slightly from side to side, like she was trying to listen through the chaos of honking horns and shouting vendors. The walk signal flashed white. People surged forward around the girl. A businessman in a gray suit nearly knocked into her. The girl stumbled back, her cane tapping frantically against the sidewalk. Clara stopped walking. The signal was already counting down. 10, 9, 8. The girl took a tentative step forward, then stopped. Her hand trembled on the cane. Everyone kept walking. A woman with shopping bags squeezed past the girl without a word. A teenager on a skateboard swerved around her with an annoyed grunt. Clara looked at her phone again. 3:48 p.m. If she stopped, she'd be late. Mel would dock her pay again, maybe even give her night shift to someone else. She needed this job. She needed every dollar. The girl took another small step, clearly disoriented. A taxi honked loudly, making her flinch. "Oh, for God's sake," Clara muttered. She shoved her phone in her pocket and walked straight to the girl. The light was already red, cars beginning to inch forward. "Hey there," Clara said gently, touching the girl's elbow. "I'm Clara. Mind if I walk across with you?" The girl's head turned toward her voice. For a moment, she seemed startled. Then her shoulders relaxed slightly. Yes. Please." I got turned around, and everyone's moving so fast. "Tell me about it," Clara smiled, though the girl couldn't see it. "Okay, we're going to wait for the next light. It'll change in about 30 seconds. "Thank you." The girl's voice was soft but refined, with perfect diction that made Clara think of private schools and music lessons. They stood together as cars rushed past. Clara noticed the girl's clothes, an expensive-looking navy dress, leather shoes that probably cost more than Clara's monthly rent, a designer purse. But there was something fragile about her, too, the way she held herself, like she was always bracing for impact. "I'm Sophia," the girl said suddenly. "Nice to meet you, Sophia. You from around here?" "Upper East Side. I usually have someone with me, but I wanted to try walking alone today." Sophia's jaw tightened. Clearly, that was a mistake. "Hey, no. That took guts." The light changed, and Clara gently guided Sophia's arm. "Okay, we're walking now. Nice and steady. There's nothing in front of us." They moved together across the street. Clara kept her pace slow, narrating quietly. "About halfway now. Doing great. Okay. Curb coming up in 3 steps. 1, 2, 3, and we're up." On the other side, Sophia's face broke into a genuine smile. It transformed her completely. Suddenly, she looked like any other teenager, relieved and a little proud of herself. "That wasn't so bad," Sophia said. "You did all the hard part. I just kept you from getting hit by a taxi." Clara glanced at her phone. 3:52 p.m. "Damn it. Listen, are you okay from here? I'm really late for work." Yes, go. I can call my driver." Sophia pulled out a phone. "Thank you, Clara. Really? Most people just..." She trailed off. "Most people are idiots," Clara said firmly. "Take care of yourself, Sophia." She started to walk away, but Sophia called out. "Clara?" "Yeah." You have a kind voice, Sophia's smile returned, warmer this time. I hope you don't get in trouble for being late. Something about that made Clara's throat tight. When was the last time a stranger hoped she'd be okay? Don't worry about me, kid. I'm tougher than I look. Clara waved, a pointless gesture to a blind girl, and took off running down the street, her broken shoe flapping the whole way. She didn't see the black SUV that screeched around the corner 30 seconds later. She didn't see the 4 men in dark suits who erupted from it, surrounding Sophia with military precision. She didn't see the tall, dangerous-looking man with silver-streaked hair who crouched in front of Sophia, checking her over with hands that trembled slightly. And she definitely didn't hear him ask, in a voice cold enough to freeze blood, "Who is that woman?" Clara just kept running, already thinking about her shift, her bills, her broken shoe. Just another day in her small, struggling life. She had no idea that helping a girl cross the street had just put her on the radar of the most dangerous man in New York. Clara made it 3 blocks before she heard the screech of tires behind her. She didn't think much of it. This was New York, after all. Angry drivers were as common as pigeons. She just kept running, wheezing slightly, her lungs burning. 2 more blocks and she'd be at the diner. Maybe Mel wouldn't notice if she snuck in through the back. Stop right there. The voice was sharp, commanding. Military. Clara's legs froze before her brain could process why. She turned around slowly. 2 massive black SUVs had mounted the sidewalk behind her, doors flung open. 4 men in dark suits were striding toward her with frightening speed. They weren't running, they didn't need to. They moved like predators who knew their prey couldn't escape. Hands where we can see them, the lead man barked. He was built like a tank, with a scar running down his left cheek and eyes that had seen things Clara didn't want to imagine. What? Clara's hands shot up automatically. Her phone clattered to the sidewalk. I didn't do anything. People on the street scattered. A mother grabbed her child and ducked into a store. A hot dog vendor abandoned his cart. Everyone seemed to recognize danger when they saw it. The men surrounded her in a semicircle. Clara's heart hammered against her ribs. Up close, she could see the bulges under their jackets. Guns. These men had guns. What did you want with the girl? Scarface demanded. The girl? Sophia? Nothing. She needed help crossing the street, so You touched her. This came from a second man, younger, with cold blue eyes. You put your hands on her. To help her. She's blind. She was stuck at the crosswalk, and everyone was just ignoring her. Search her, Scarface ordered. Wait, no. Clara stumbled backward, but there was nowhere to go. Rough hands patted down her sides, her pockets. Someone grabbed her worn purse and dumped its contents on the ground. Chapstick, loose change, a crumpled $5 bill, her dead father's watch. The sad evidence of her life scattered across the dirty sidewalk. She's clean, Blue Eyes reported. No weapons, no wire. Please, Clara's voice cracked. I was just helping her. I'm nobody. I'm a waitress. I work at Mel's Diner. You can call them, they'll tell you. Shut up, Scarface pulled out his phone, turning slightly away. Sir, we have her. The woman who approached Sophia. No, sir, she claimed she was helping. Yes, sir. Clara's whole body shook. She wanted to run, but her legs wouldn't work. What had she done? Who was Sophia? Why did helping a blind teenager cross the street result in armed men hunting her down? Another SUV pulled up. This one was even bigger, sleeker. The back door opened, and Clara's stomach dropped. A man stepped out. Tall, maybe 50, with silver streaking through dark hair. He wore an expensive charcoal suit that probably cost more than everything Clara owned. But it wasn't his clothes that made her knees weak, it was his eyes. Cold. Calculating. The eyes of a man who made problems disappear. Sophia emerged from the SUV behind him, guided by a woman in a black pantsuit. Papa, stop. Sophia's voice rang out clear and firm. She didn't do anything wrong. Papa. This was her father. The man's eyes locked onto Clara. She felt pinned, like an insect under glass. He walked toward her slowly, and the armed men parted like water. Sophia tells me you helped her, he said. His voice was quiet, controlled. Somehow that made it more terrifying than if he'd shouted. Is this true? Clara nodded frantically.
Yes.
Yes, sir. She was stuck at the crosswalk, and I helped her across. That's all. I swear that's all. She was kind, Papa. Sophia had pulled free from the woman and was walking toward them, her cane tapping confidently. She talked to me like a person, not like I'm made of glass. She asked my name. The man studied Clara for a long moment. Then he looked at his daughter, and something shifted in his face. Not softness exactly, but something close to it. You're certain? He asked Sophia. She has a kind voice, Sophia said simply. I know kind when I hear it. The man turned back to Clara. What's your name? Clara. Clara Mitchell. Well, Clara Mitchell. He reached into his jacket. Clara flinched, but he only pulled out a wallet. He extracted several $100 bills and held them out. Thank you for helping my daughter. Clara stared at the money. It was more than she made in a week. Maybe 2 weeks. But something about the way he held it, like it was a test, made her shake her head. I don't want money. I was just helping. His eyebrows rose slightly. You don't want money?
No, sir.
Anyone would have done the same thing. No, he said quietly. They wouldn't have, as you saw. He pocketed the money and gave a slight nod. The men immediately stepped back, creating a clear path for Clara to leave. You may go, he said. And Miss Mitchell?
Thank you. Truly.
Clara didn't need to be told twice. She scooped up her belongings with shaking hands, shoving everything back into her purse. She was 5 steps away when Sophia called out. Clara, will I see you again? Clara looked back. The girl was smiling hopefully, and her father was watching Clara with an unreadable expression. Maybe, Clara managed. Take care, Sophia. She walked away as fast as she could without running, her broken shoe still flapping. Her whole body trembled. She didn't know who those people were, but she knew power when she saw it. Dangerous power. Behind her, she heard the man's voice, low and thoughtful. Find out everything about her. Clara didn't hear that part. She just kept walking, telling herself it was over. A weird, scary moment, but over. She had no idea it was just beginning. Lorenzo de Luca sat in his study, a glass of bourbon untouched on the mahogany desk. The room was dark except for the glow of multiple computer screens. He'd sent Sophia to bed an hour ago, after she'd talked his ear off about the nice lady with a kind voice. A knock at the door. Come in. Vincent Russo entered, Lorenzo's head of security, the man he trusted more than anyone except family. Vincent had been with him for 23 years. He'd taken bullets for Lorenzo. He'd buried bodies for Lorenzo. And he'd never once asked a question that wasn't absolutely necessary. Got the footage, Vincent said, setting a laptop on the desk. And the preliminary report. Lorenzo gestured for him to proceed. Vincent clicked play. The screen showed 5th and 42nd, the camera angle from a traffic light. Timestamp, 3:48 p.m. Lorenzo watched the crowd surge past his daughter. Watched her stumble. Watched person after person ignore her like she was invisible. His jaw tightened. Then Clara appeared. Lorenzo leaned forward. The footage wasn't perfect, the angle was wrong, and people kept blocking the view. But he could see enough. Clara stopped, looked at her phone, looked at Sophia, then made a decision. She approached Sophia carefully, not grabbing, not rushing. She spoke. Lorenzo wished he had audio, and Sophia's body language changed immediately. Relaxed. Trusting. They waited for the light together. Vincent had synced footage from 2 more cameras, showing different angles. Lorenzo watched Clara guide his daughter across the street with gentle competence. She narrated the walk. He could tell by the way her lips moved, warning Sophia about the curb. And then Sophia smiled. Lorenzo's chest constricted. When was the last time he'd seen that smile? Not the polite one she wore for family dinners or public events. The real one. The one she used to have before the car accident 5 years ago, before she lost her sight, before she lost her mother, before she lost the ability to trust the world. On screen, Clara was leaving. But she stopped when Sophia called to her. Turned back. Said something that made Sophia's smile grow wider. Then Clara ran off, her shoe visibly damaged, clearly late for something. Run it again, Lorenzo said quietly. Vincent did. Lorenzo watched it 3 more times, studying every detail. The way Clara moved, no hesitation once she made her decision. The way she respected Sophia's space, while still being helpful. The way she left without expecting anything. The report, he said finally. Vincent pulled out a folder. Clara Marie Mitchell, 26 years old. Born in Queens, father died when she was 19, mother remarried and moved to Florida 2 years ago. No siblings. Works at Mel's Diner in Midtown, been there 3 years. Lives alone in a studio apartment in Hell's Kitchen. Rent is $1,400 a month, and according to her bank records, she's usually 2 weeks from broke. Lorenzo took the folder, flipping through photos. Clara leaving her apartment building. Clara at the diner, wiping down tables. Clara at a laundromat. The pictures painted a picture of someone grinding through life, day after day. Criminal record, he asked.
Clean.
Not even a parking ticket. She did 2 years of community college before her father died, had to drop out to work full-time. No political affiliations, no social media presence worth mentioning. Last relationship ended 8 months ago. Guy named Derek Walsh, insurance salesman. Quiet breakup, no drama. Family connections? Friends with questionable backgrounds? None. Her closest friend is a coworker named Beth Santos. They go to the movies twice a month. Clara volunteers at a soup kitchen every other Sunday. That's about as exciting as her life gets, Vincent paused. Boss, she's nobody. Just a working girl trying to survive in an expensive city. Lorenzo nodded slowly, still studying the photos. In one, Clara was caught mid-laugh, talking to an elderly customer at the diner. In another, she looked exhausted, trudging home with grocery bags. She refused the money, Lorenzo said.
Yeah, that's
unusual. More than unusual. When's the last time someone in this city turned down $500 for 5 minutes of work? Vincent didn't answer. They both knew the answer was never. Lorenzo pulled up the traffic footage again, pausing on Sophia's smile. His daughter hadn't smiled like that since Maria died. For 5 years, he'd watched Sophia retreat into herself, building walls he couldn't break through. She was polite, obedient, but distant. Like, she'd decided the world wasn't worth engaging with anymore. Then this waitress with the broken shoe showed up and made her smile. What do you want me to do? Vincent asked. Lorenzo considered. Every instinct told him to keep Sophia away from outsiders. His world was dangerous. Anyone close to his family became a target. It was why Sophia rarely left the estate, why she was always surrounded by guards. But she'd asked to walk alone today. Begged for it. And he'd said yes because he couldn't stand seeing her trapped anymore. And this woman, this nobody waitress, had done what dozens of New Yorkers hadn't. She'd stopped. She'd helped. She'd been kind for no reason other than it was the right thing to do. Keep watching her, Lorenzo said finally, discreetly. I want to know where she goes, who she talks to, if anyone unusual approaches her. You think someone might be using her? Setting up some kind of play?
no.
But I want to be certain. Lorenzo closed the folder. And Vincent? Make sure she gets home safely every night. I don't want anything happening to her. Vincent's eyebrows rose slightly, the closest he ever came to showing surprise. Boss, you sure about this? Getting involved with a civilian? I'm not getting involved. I'm being cautious. Lorenzo stood, walking to the window. His estate sprawled below, lit up like a fortress. Sophia asked if she'd see her again. And I don't know yet. Lorenzo took a sip of bourbon finally, the liquid burning down his throat. But if my daughter asks for something that makes her smile like that, he trailed off, watching his reflection in the dark glass. Just watch her. Report anything unusual. Yes, sir. After Vincent left, Lorenzo watched the footage one more time. Froze it on Clara's face as she turned back to Sophia. There was something there, genuine warmth, real concern. No agenda. No angle. In Lorenzo's world, that was the rarest thing of all. He picked up his phone and texted Sophia goodnight, something he did every evening. This time, she responded immediately. The lady today was really nice, Papa. I hope I see her again. Lorenzo stared at the message for a long time before responding. We'll see, sweetheart.
Sleep well.
He didn't tell her he'd already made sure they would. Clara couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching her. It started the next morning when she left her apartment building. A black sedan was parked across the street, engine idling. She'd never seen it there before. When she walked to the subway, it didn't follow, but the feeling remained, like eyes on her back. You're being paranoid, she told herself. Yesterday was weird, but it's over. She ran her Saturday errands on autopilot. Laundromat, grocery store, picking up her repaired watch from the jeweler. The jeweler had given her a discount after she'd helped his wife translate something into Spanish last month. That was her life, small kindnesses creating small mercies. By noon, she needed coffee. The cafe on Amsterdam Avenue was busy, filled with the weekend crowd of freelancers and families. Clara stood in line, mentally calculating if she could afford a latte or if she should stick to regular coffee. Regular coffee won. It always did. She was reaching for her wallet when a deep voice behind her said, I'll get that. Clara turned. Her breath caught. It was him, Sophia's father. Except he wasn't in a suit today, just dark jeans and a black sweater that probably cost more than her monthly rent. He looked different in daylight, less intimidating somehow, though his eyes still had that calculating sharpness. Mister, I don't know your last name, Clara stammered. Lorenzo, he gave a slight smile. And you're Clara. Black coffee. How did you? She stopped. Of course he knew. Men like him knew everything. You don't have to buy my coffee. Consider it a delayed thank you. Since you wouldn't take the money yesterday, he ordered 2 coffees, adding a pastry that Clara had been eyeing but wouldn't let herself buy. The almond croissant is excellent here. The barista took his card, black, heavy, the kind that had no spending limit. Clara felt suddenly aware of her faded jeans and the coffee stain on her jacket. Are you following me? She asked quietly. Lorenzo's smile widened slightly. I was in the neighborhood. The Upper East Side is 15 blocks from here. So it is. He handed her the coffee and pastry. Walk with me? It wasn't really a question. Clara glanced at the door, considering her options. She could refuse, run, hide. But something told her that wouldn't work. Men like Lorenzo didn't take no for an answer. Besides, curiosity was winning over fear. They walked in silence for half a block before Lorenzo spoke. Sophia talked about you all night. She rarely talks about anything. She's a sweet kid. She's lonely. The words came out flat, factual. Her mother died 5 years ago. Same accident that took her sight. Since then, she's retreated from the world. Yesterday was the first time she'd asked to walk alone. I almost said no. Clara sipped her coffee, unsure what to say. I'm sorry. I can't imagine. She has everything money can buy, tutors, therapists, anything she needs. But she doesn't have friends. People either treat her like she's broken or they want something from me. He glanced at Clara. You were the first person in years to treat her like a normal teenager. She is normal. She just can't see. Lorenzo stopped walking.
See? That.
Right there, he studied Clara with those intense eyes. No pity. No agenda.
Just honesty.
Clara shifted uncomfortably. Look, I'm glad I could help, but I don't know what you want from me. Nothing. Lorenzo started walking again. I want nothing from you, Clara. I'm simply curious. They walked in silence for another minute before Lorenzo excused himself, disappearing into a black car that had somehow appeared at the curb. Clara stood there, holding her coffee and croissant, more confused than ever. Curious about what? She decided to eat lunch at Central Park, needing fresh air to clear her head. The park was crowded with joggers and tourists. Clara found a bench near the fountain, unwrapping a sandwich she'd packed that morning. Clara? She looked up, and her jaw dropped. Sophia stood 10 feet away, her white cane extended, a huge smile on her face. Behind her, 3 bodyguards in casual clothes tried and failed to look inconspicuous. Sophia? What are you doing here? I heard your voice. Sophia navigated toward her with surprising confidence. I knew it was you. May I sit? Of course, Clara scooted over, shooting a glance at the bodyguards. They kept their distance but watched every movement. Sophia sat gracefully, tilting her face toward the sun. I love this park. The sounds, the smells. Everything's alive here. Do you come often? Not as often as I'd like. Papa worries. Sophia's fingers traced the top of her cane. But I convinced him I needed fresh air today. And maybe I was hoping I'd run into you. Clara smiled. Pretty big coincidence. Is it? Sophia grinned mischievously. New York's not that big. They talked for 20 minutes, about music, about Sophia's piano lessons, about Clara's favorite movies. Sophia was sharp and funny, with a dry wit that caught Clara off guard. She didn't talk about her father or money or the obvious security surrounding her. She was just a teenage girl, starved for normal conversation. Clara found herself relaxing, genuinely enjoying the company. She didn't notice Lorenzo watching from behind a tree 50 yards away. He'd followed Clara to the park, curious about how she spent her free time. When Sophia appeared, and he knew exactly why she was there, had approved it himself, he'd expected awkwardness. Maybe Clara would be uncomfortable or try to use the connection for something. Instead, he watched them laugh together. Watched Clara share her sandwich without hesitation. Watched Sophia animate in a way he rarely saw, her hands gesturing excitedly as she talked. Vincent appeared beside him silently. The girl's clever. She asked if she could accidentally run into Clara at the park. I think she's playing matchmaker. Matchmaker? Lorenzo frowned. Not that kind. She wants a friend, boss. And she figured if it looked natural, you couldn't say no. Lorenzo watched Clara adjust Sophia's hair, which had fallen in her face from the wind. A simple gesture, casual and caring. Sophia beamed. She's dangerous, Lorenzo said quietly. The waitress? She's harmless. No, Lorenzo's eyes never left the bench. She's dangerous because Sophia's already attached. And when Sophia cares about something, he didn't finish. They both knew. When Sophia cared, she cared completely. And in their world, attachment was a liability. But watching his daughter smile like that. Let them talk, Lorenzo said finally. But don't let Clara out of our sight. If anyone else notices this connection, I'll handle it. Lorenzo nodded, watching a few minutes more before slipping away unnoticed. Clara left the park 40 minutes later, her head spinning. 2 encounters in one day couldn't be coincidence. But what did it mean? She didn't have answers. She only knew that Sophia's laugh had been the best sound she'd heard in months. And somewhere in the city, Lorenzo De Luca was thinking the exact same thing. Sunday evening, Lorenzo found Sophia in the music room, her fingers moving across the piano keys with practiced ease. Chopin, her mother's favorite. He stood in the doorway, not wanting to interrupt. This was rare too, Sophia playing without being asked, playing because she wanted to. The piece ended. Sophia's hands rested on the keys. I know you're there, Papa, she said, turning toward him with that uncanny accuracy blind people developed. You breathe differently when you're thinking hard. Lorenzo entered, settling into the chair beside the piano. And what am I thinking about?
Me.
And Clara, Sophia smiled. You're wondering if you made a mistake letting me talk to her again. You're too perceptive for your own good. I get it from you. Sophia's fingers traced the piano keys absently, not pressing them. Papa, can I ask you something? Always. Can I see Clara again? Officially, I mean. Not just accidentally running into her at the park. Lorenzo had been expecting this, but hearing it still made his chest tighten. Sophia never asked for things. Never. She accepted what was given, never pushed, never demanded. Even before the accident, she'd been independent, self-sufficient. Why Clara? He asked carefully. You've met other people. Tutors, therapists, daughters of my associates. They all want something. Sophia's voice was firm, certain. The tutors want to be paid. The therapists want to fix me. The daughters of your friends want to say they know Lorenzo de Luca's daughter. But Clara? She just wanted me to cross the street safely. She doesn't know who we are. Exactly. Sophia turned fully toward him. Papa, when was the last time someone talked to me without knowing? Without the weight of your name, your reputation, your money hanging over everything? Lorenzo was quiet. He couldn't remember. She treated me like I was normal, Sophia continued, and her voice cracked slightly. Not fragile. Not broken. Not the blind girl who lost her mother.
Just.
Sophia. Do you know how long it's been since I felt like just Sophia? Lorenzo reached out, taking his daughter's hand. Her fingers were trembling. She made me laugh about almost tripping on the curb, Sophia whispered. She asked what music I liked. She shared her sandwich even though I could tell she doesn't have much money.
She didn't do it for you.
She did it because she's kind. Sophia squeezed his hand. Please, Papa. I'm not asking for much.
Just.
Let me have one friend who doesn't know what comes with knowing me. Lorenzo looked at his daughter, 17 years old, blind, isolated in a fortress of his making. He'd built walls to protect her, but somewhere along the way, those walls had become a prison. Okay, he said quietly. Sophia's face lit up. Really? Really? I'll arrange something. No, Sophia stood, excited now. No arrangements. No orchestrated meetings. I want to just show up, like a normal person.
Can I do that?
Can I just go to her work and ask if she wants to have lunch? Every protective instinct screamed no. But Lorenzo looked at his daughter's hopeful face and found himself nodding. Take Vincent and 2 others. They stay visible. Deal. Sophia threw her arms around him.
Thank you, Papa.
Thank you. Lorenzo held her, remembering when she was small, when Maria was still alive, when their world wasn't built on violence and secrets. For just a moment, he let himself believe that maybe Clara Mitchell was exactly what Sophia needed. Even if every logical bone in his body said this was a mistake. Monday afternoon, Clara was in the middle of the lunch rush when Beth elbowed her sharply.
Clara.
You got visitors. Clara looked up from pouring coffee and nearly dropped the pot. Sophia stood in the doorway of Mel's diner, flanked by 3 massive men in dark suits. Every customer had stopped eating to stare. Even Mel had come out from the kitchen, his face pale. Oh my God, Clara breathed. Sophia's cane swept the floor as she navigated inside, one of the bodyguards murmuring directions. She was wearing a simple sundress and looked nervous, her free hand clutching her purse tightly. Clara? Sophia called out. Are you here? I'm here. Clara set down the coffee pot and walked over, hyper-aware of everyone watching. Sophia, what are you doing here? I wanted to ask. Sophia paused, then smiled sheepishly. Actually, can we talk somewhere less public? Mel appeared at Clara's elbow. Everything okay, Clara? His voice was tight. He'd seen the bodyguards, the way they scanned the room like Secret Service.
Yeah, Mel.
This is Sophia.
She's
a friend. A friend. Mel's eyes flicked between Sophia and the armed men.
Right. Well.
Your break's in 10 minutes anyway. Take it now. Clara led Sophia to a booth in the back corner. The bodyguards took up position nearby, close enough to respond to threats, far enough to give the illusion of privacy. Sorry, Sophia whispered once they sat. I didn't mean to cause a scene. I wanted to see you. And I thought maybe we could have lunch together? If you're not too busy? Clara's mind raced. This was insane. This girl, This clearly wealthy, clearly protected girl had just walked into a dive diner in Midtown to ask her to lunch. Sophia, who is your father? Clara asked quietly. Really? Sophia bit her lip. Does it matter? 3 bodyguards kind of makes it matter.
He's
Protective. Overly protective, Sophia reached across the table, finding Clara's hand. But I promise I'm not here to cause problems. I just like talking to you. You're easy to talk to. And I don't have anyone my age who just talks. Clara saw it then, the loneliness beneath the expensive clothes and security detail. This girl lived in a cage, even if the cage was gilded. Okay, Clara said. But I only have 30 minutes. Sophia's smile could have lit up the whole diner. That's perfect. Beth brought over menus, her eyes wide. Clara ordered a burger. Sophia ordered the same, then proceeded to tell a hilarious story about her piano teacher's cat that had Clara laughing so hard she snorted coffee. The bodyguards watched. Mel watched from the kitchen. The other customers whispered. But in their corner booth, 2 girls just talked and laughed like normal people. And for 30 minutes, that's exactly what they were. When Sophia left, she squeezed Clara's hand. Same time tomorrow. You're coming back. If you'll let me, Sophia's voice was hopeful, vulnerable. Is that okay? Clara thought about Lorenzo's calculating eyes, the guns under suit jackets, the dangerous world this girl clearly came from. Every smart instinct said to run. But Sophia was smiling, and Clara remembered what it felt like to be lonely. Yeah, Clara said. It's okay. After Sophia left, Mel pulled Clara aside. Clara, those men had guns. I know. Who are these people? I don't know, Mel. But Sophia's just a kid who needs a friend. Mel shook his head but didn't argue. Just be careful. Clara nodded, but careful was already out the window. Across town, Lorenzo received Vincent's report. She said yes. Lorenzo leaned back in his chair, conflicted. This was spiraling into something he couldn't control. But Sophia had called him 20 minutes ago, her voice bubbling with excitement, and he hadn't heard her sound like that in 5 years. So he did nothing. And in doing nothing, he changed everything. Sophia came back the next day, and the day after that. By Thursday, it had become routine. Sophia would arrive at Mel's diner at 1:30 p.m., right when Clara's break started. They'd sit in the same back booth, order food, and talk about everything and nothing. Music, books, movies Sophia listened to with audio description, Clara's dreams of going back to school someday, Sophia's frustration with being coddled. They act like I'll shatter if I bump into a table, Sophia complained on Wednesday, stealing one of Clara's fries. I'm blind, not made of porcelain. Have you told them that? Papa just gets this look. Like he's remembering. Sophia trailed off, then shook her head. Anyway, tell me more about the guy who tried to pay for his meal with a poem. Clara grinned, launching into the story. This was easy, natural. Sophia had a way of listening that made Clara feel heard, really heard for the first time in years. Not just nodded at, but understood. The bodyguards became background noise. Vincent, Clara had learned his name, always stood closest, his scarred face impassive. But she'd caught him almost smiling once when Sophia had made a particularly sarcastic comment about her piano teacher. On Thursday afternoon, after Sophia left, Beth cornered Clara by the coffee station. Okay, spill. Who is she? Just a girl who needs a friend. A girl with armed guards and a driver who picks her up in a car that costs more than this building. Beth raised her eyebrows. Clara, I love that you see the good in people, but this is weird. Rich people don't slum it in diners unless they want something. Sophia's not like that. How do you know? Clara paused, wiping down the counter. Because when I talk, she leans forward. She remembers things I mention in passing. She asked about my dad's watch, the one I wear every day that nobody else notices.
She's lonely, Beth.
Really lonely. And I know what that feels like. Beth's expression softened. Just be careful, okay? Rich people have rich people problems, and I don't want you getting caught in the middle of something. But Clara was already caught. She just didn't know it yet. Friday, Sophia asked if they could meet somewhere else. Don't get me wrong, I love the diner, Sophia said, but I'd like to walk with you. Like we did that first day. Papa says Vincent can follow at a distance. So they walked. Through Central Park, around the reservoir, past street musicians and artists. Clara described everything. The colors of fall leaves, a dog chasing pigeons, a mime that was making tourists laugh. The mime is doing what now? Sophia asked, incredulous. He's pretending to be trapped in a box. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You can't hear him. He's a mime. Exactly. Sophia burst out laughing, and Clara joined her. Vincent and his team followed 20 paces back. Close enough to respond. Far enough to give them space. Vincent had his phone out, and Lorenzo's name was on the screen. He'd been sending updates every 30 minutes. They're laughing. The Mitchell girl just bought Sophia an ice cream. Sophia is happy. Lorenzo read each text in his office, building a mental picture. His men had photographed every interaction, captured every conversation they could overhear. The reports were always the same. Genuine friendship, no agenda, no attempts to leverage the connection. Clara Mitchell worked her shifts, paid her bills, volunteered at the soup kitchen on Sundays. She'd turned down a customer who'd asked her out twice this week. She called her mother every Sunday evening. She was exactly what she appeared to be, a good person trying to survive in an expensive city. It should have made Lorenzo relax. Instead, it made him more nervous. Good people in his world didn't stay good. They either got corrupted or destroyed. And Sophia was already attached. Friday evening, Sophia insisted on walking Clara home. Sophia, you don't have to. I want to. Besides, Vincent has been twitchy all day. He needs to feel useful, Sophia grinned. Right, Vincent? Miss Sophia is correct, Vincent said dryly. I live to be useful. They walked through Hell's Kitchen as the sun set, the city shifting from day to evening energy. Clara pointed out her favorite bodega, the community theater where she sometimes watched rehearsals through the window, the chess players who occupied the corner of 48th and 9th every night. You really love the city, Sophia observed. I grew up here. It's loud and dirty and expensive, and half the people are jerks, but Clara paused, searching for words. It's also beautiful. In weird ways. Like, there's a guy who plays violin in the subway every Tuesday. He's probably some concert violinist, but he just plays for quarters. Or the old woman who feeds pigeons in the park and knows every single one by name. This city has magic if you know where to look. Will you show me? Sophia asked quietly. The magic parts. Clara looked at her. This girl with designer clothes and armed guards who somehow felt like a real friend.
Yeah.
I can do that. When they reached Clara's building, Sophia hugged her goodbye. It surprised Clara. Sophia rarely initiated physical contact.
But the hug was tight, genuine.
Thank you, Sophia whispered. For these past few days. I haven't felt this normal in. I can't remember how long. Same, Clara admitted. And it was true. Sophia had become the bright spot in her routine. Someone to look forward to seeing. Vincent stepped forward as Sophia released her. Miss Mitchell, Mr. DeLuca would like you to know that he appreciates your friendship with his daughter.
Oh, tell him.
Tell him Sophia is easy to be friends with. Vincent's scarred face softened almost imperceptibly. I will. Clara watched them drive away, then climbed 4 flights to her tiny studio. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Sophia. Vincent helped me save your number. Same time tomorrow? I want to hear about the soup kitchen. Clara smiled, typing back. Tomorrow. But you're buying the coffee this time.
Deal.
Across town, Lorenzo read Vincent's final report of the day. Then he pulled up the photos. Sophia laughing, Sophia animated, Sophia looking happier than she had in years. He made a decision then, one that would alter everything. He would let this continue. Let Sophia have her friend, her normal moments, her slice of ordinary life. What could possibly go wrong? Lorenzo De Luca had built an empire on reading situations, on anticipating threats, on staying 3 steps ahead. But he didn't see the surveillance photos being taken from a rooftop across from Mel's diner. Didn't notice the rival family's lieutenant studying pictures of Sophia and Clara, heads together, laughing. Didn't realize that by allowing Sophia this one piece of normalcy, he just painted a target on Clara's back. Marco Valeni studied the photographs spread across his desk, his jaw tight with interest. 8 photos, taken over 5 days, all showing the same thing. Lorenzo De Luca's daughter with an unknown woman. Who is she? Marco asked, not looking up. His lieutenant, Eddie Moss, leaned forward. Name's Clara Mitchell. 26, waitress, nobody special. Lives in Hell's Kitchen, works at some dive diner in Midtown. Nobody special, Marco repeated slowly. Yet Lorenzo's daughter meets with her every single day. In public. With minimal security. 3 guards, Eddie confirmed. Vincent Russo is always present, but they keep their distance. The women walk together, eat together, talk for hours. Marco picked up a photo, Sophia and Clara at the park, Clara's hand on Sophia's arm, both of them laughing. Another showed them at the diner, Sophia reaching across the table to touch Clara's hand. A third captured them walking down a busy street, Clara clearly describing something, Sophia's face animated. The Valeni family had been at war with the De Lucas for 3 generations. A Cold War, mostly strategic moves, territory disputes, the occasional disappeared soldier. Lorenzo was too powerful to attack directly, too smart to give them an opening. But this was interesting. How long has this been going on? Marco asked. Started 8 days ago. De Luca's daughter was stuck at a crosswalk. The Mitchell woman helped her. Since then, they've been meeting regularly. And what does Mitchell get out of it? Eddie shrugged. Nothing we can see. De Luca offered her money the first day. She refused it. Her bank account hasn't changed. No new clothes, no new apartment, nothing. She's still living paycheck to paycheck. Marco frowned. People didn't refuse Lorenzo De Luca's money. People didn't get close to his daughter without a reason. There had to be an angle. Maybe she's sleeping with him, Tony Greco suggested from the corner. Tony was Marco's enforcer, all muscle and no subtlety. Then why spend time with the daughter? Eddie countered. That makes no sense. Maybe she's leverage he's keeping close, another voice offered. Insurance against someone. Marco continued studying the photos. There was something about the body language, the ease between them, the genuine smiles. It didn't look transactional.
It looked real.
Which made it even more valuable. Send these to Chicago, Marco said finally. And New York families we're friendly with. I want everyone to know Lorenzo De Luca's daughter has a new companion. An unprotected civilian companion. Eddie grinned. You think someone will make a move? I think information is power. And right now, this waitress is information. Marco tapped the photo. Lorenzo has kept that girl locked up for 5 years. Suddenly, she's walking around the city with some nobody. That's a weakness. And we don't let weaknesses go to waste. You want us to grab her? Tony asked eagerly. No, Marco held up a hand. We watch. We learn. We see who else gets interested. Let someone else make the first move, someone expendable. We'll learn from their mistakes. And if no one moves, Marco smiled coldly. Then we'll consider our options. But patience first. Lorenzo didn't build his empire by being careless. There's something we're missing. Eddie gathered the photos. I'll get these distributed. Our contacts in Jersey, Boston, and Philly will be very interested. After they left, Marco poured himself a whiskey, thinking. Lorenzo De Luca was meticulous, paranoid, protective. He didn't make mistakes. So either this waitress was part of some larger play Marco couldn't see yet, or Lorenzo had finally developed a blind spot. Either way, Marco would be ready. The photos traveled fast through underground networks. Digital files sent through encrypted channels, printed copies passed in dark restaurants and warehouse meetings. Within 48 hours, every major family on the East Coast knew about Clara Mitchell. In Boston, an underboss named Sullivan looked at the photos and saw opportunity. DeLuca had embarrassed him 6 months ago over a territory dispute. Maybe payback had just walked into frame. In Philadelphia, the Carbone family discussed whether the girl was worth their attention. She could be a plant, a decoy, bait for a trap. But Lorenzo's daughter was definitely attached. That was clear even in still photographs. In Jersey, Raymond Costa showed the photos to his cousin, who ran street operations. "Keep an eye out for this woman. If she shows up in our territory, I want to know immediately." Even families that weren't actively hostile to the DeLucas took note. Information was currency, and this was prime information. Lorenzo DeLuca's daughter, blind and vulnerable, had a friend. A civilian friend with no protection, no family connections, no power. That kind of information could be traded, sold, or used. Clara had no idea. On Saturday morning, she walked to the laundromat like always. Waved to Mr. Chun at the bodega. Bought a coffee from the cart on the corner. Went about her small, ordinary life. She didn't notice the man in the blue jacket who photographed her from across the street. Didn't see the car that followed her 3 blocks before turning away. Didn't know that her face was now in the files of a dozen crime families. She just folded her laundry, humming along to the radio, thinking about how Sophia had made her promise to describe the autumn leaves in Central Park today. Her phone buzzed. "Sophia, ready for a walk? Vincent says it's beautiful outside." Clara smiled, typing back, "Meet you at the usual spot in an hour." She finished her laundry, completely unaware that in the city around her, dangerous men were making dangerous plans. And at the center of those plans was a waitress who'd simply helped a blind girl cross the street. Vincent's team had noticed the surveillance, they always did. The men were professionals, but surveillance was constant in their world. People always watched the DeLucas. Vincent had tripled the detail around Sophia without telling her, added 2 more cars to follow at a distance. He'd also started having someone watch Clara's apartment, just in case. But he didn't tell Clara. Lorenzo had been explicit. Don't scare her off. Sophia was happy for the first time in years. They'd handle the threats quietly, invisibly. That decision, to keep Clara in the dark, was a mistake. Because what Clara didn't know could hurt her. And it was about to. Marco Valeni was patient, but not everyone was. And somewhere in the city, someone less careful was already making their move. The clock was ticking. Clara just couldn't hear it yet. Clara was making dinner. Ramen with an egg, her specialty, when someone knocked on her door. Not the buzzer downstairs. Her actual apartment door. She froze, wooden spoon in hand. Nobody came to her door unannounced. Delivery guys always buzzed from downstairs. Beth texted first. Her landlord only appeared when the rent was late, and she'd paid on time this month. 3 more knocks. Firm, deliberate. Clara turned off the stove and approached the door slowly. She looked through the peephole and her stomach dropped. 2 men in dark suits stood in her hallway. Not the friendly maintenance guy. Not neighbors. These were the kind of men who'd surrounded her on that first day. Professional. Armed. Dangerous. "Miss Mitchell," one of them called through the door. "We're not here to hurt you. Mr. DeLuca requests your presence." Clara's hand trembled on the doorknob. "It's 10 p.m. "Yes, ma'am. He apologizes for the late hour, but this can't wait." "What if I say no?" A pause. Mr. DeLuca would be disappointed, but the choice is yours. The way he said disappointed made it clear it wasn't really a choice at all. Clara opened the door, keeping the chain lock on. Up close, the men looked even more intimidating. "Am I in trouble?"
"No, ma'am."
"Mr. DeLuca simply needs to speak with you. It's important. About Sophia? He'll explain everything. We have a car downstairs." Clara looked at her tiny apartment, the half-cooked ramen, her comfortable clothes, her safe little bubble. Then she thought about Sophia's laugh, the way she'd hugged Clara goodbye yesterday, the text messages they'd exchanged all week. "Let me change," she said quietly. 5 minutes later, she was in the back of a black SUV, sandwiched between the suited men. They drove in silence through the city, heading north. Out of Manhattan, through the Bronx, into Westchester County. The houses got bigger. The streets got quieter. The SUV turned onto a private road lined with tall, iron gates. Lorenzo's estate. Clara had imagined it would be nice, but this was something else. The mansion sprawled across perfectly manicured grounds, lit up like a palace. Guards patrolled the perimeter. Security cameras tracked their approach. The SUV stopped at the main entrance. One of the suited men opened her door. "This way, please." Inside, the house was all marble floors and expensive art. Clara felt distinctly out of place in her jeans and cardigan. A woman in a black pantsuit, the same one who'd been with Sophia that first day, guided her through hallways that seemed to go on forever. They stopped at a heavy wooden door. The woman knocked once, then opened it. "Miss Mitchell, sir." Lorenzo sat behind a massive desk in what appeared to be his study. He looked different than he had at the coffee shop, more formal, more intimidating. This was Lorenzo De Luca in his element, surrounded by power and control. "Thank you, Marie. That will be all." The door closed, leaving Clara alone with him. "Please, sit." Lorenzo gestured to a chair across from his desk. Clara sat stiffly, her hands clasped in her lap. "Did something happen to Sophia?" "Sophia is fine. She's asleep upstairs." Lorenzo's expression softened slightly. "Actually, that's why you're here. I wanted to thank you properly. And warn you." "Warn me." Lorenzo pulled out a tablet, tapping the screen. He turned it toward Clara. Photos filled the display, her walking to work, doing laundry, sitting in the park with Sophia. Dozens of photos from different angles, different days. "These were taken by people who are not my employees," Lorenzo said quietly. "My enemies. People who would very much like to hurt me and who see you as a potential method of doing so." Clara's blood ran cold. "I don't understand. I'm nobody. You're somebody to Sophia. That makes you somebody to me. And in my world, that makes you a target." Lorenzo leaned forward. "I'm telling you this because you deserve to know what you've walked into. You didn't ask for this. You were just being kind. But kindness has consequences in my world." "What kind of consequences?" "The kind that involve men with guns deciding you're valuable enough to kidnap. Or harm. Or use as leverage." His voice was matter-of-fact, but his eyes were serious. "I have people watching you now. Protection you don't see. But I won't lie to you. You're in danger simply by being Sophia's friend." Clara's mouth went dry. "Then maybe I shouldn't be her friend anymore." "Is that what you want?" She thought about Sophia's smile, her laughter, the way she'd opened up over the past week.
No.
"But I don't want to put her in danger either." "Sophia is always in danger. That's the price of being my daughter." Lorenzo's jaw tightened. "But she's been locked away because of it. Isolated. Lonely. Then you came along, and for the first time in 5 years, I heard my daughter laugh like she used to. Really laugh. Not the polite sounds she makes at family dinners, but genuine joy." He pulled up a photo on the tablet, Sophia and Clara at the park, both mid-laugh. Clara barely recognized herself. She looked happy too. "I could tell you to stay away," Lorenzo continued. "For your own safety, that would be the smart thing. But Sophia would be devastated. And he paused, something flickering across his face. "I won't take away the one good thing she's found since her mother died." "So, what are you saying?" "I'm saying I'm offering you a choice, but I want you to understand what you're choosing." Lorenzo stood, walking to the window. "Continue being Sophia's friend, and you'll have my protection. Complete protection. But you'll also be part of this world, with all its dangers. Or walk away now, and I'll ensure no one bothers you again." Clara sat in silence, her mind racing. This was insane. She was a waitress. She wasn't built for mobster drama and surveillance photos and armed guards. But she thought about Sophia asking to hear about the autumn leaves. Sophia saving her number in her phone with Vincent's help. Sophia texting her good morning every day this week. Does Sophia know? Clara asked. About the danger? Sophia has lived with danger her entire life. She knows what I am, what my world is. She's choosing to trust you anyway. Clara stood, meeting Lorenzo's eyes. I'm not walking away. Sophia needs a friend, and honestly, I need one too. Lorenzo studied her for a long moment. You're braver than you look, Miss Mitchell. I'm probably just stupid. A ghost of a smile crossed his face. Perhaps both, he returned to his desk, pulling out a business card. This is my private number. If anything happens, anything, you call immediately. Don't hesitate. Don't second guess. Call. Clara took the card with trembling fingers. Vincent will drive you home. You'll notice more security around your building now. Don't be alarmed. They're mine, Lorenzo's voice hardened. And Miss Mitchell? If anyone approaches you asking about Sophia, about me, about anything, you tell me immediately. No matter how harmless it seems. Okay. I mean it. These people are not playing games. They will seem friendly, reasonable, trustworthy. That's how they work. Clara nodded, pocketing the card. As she turned to leave, Lorenzo spoke again. Clara?
Thank you for giving my daughter her smile back.
I can't repay that, but I'll do everything in my power to keep you safe. In the car ride home, Clara stared at her reflection in the window. 1 week ago, she'd helped a girl cross the street. Now she was under the protection of a crime boss, being surveilled by his enemies, and in way over her head. But Sophia needed her, and somehow that made it worth it. She just hoped she'd survive long enough to figure out what she'd gotten herself into. Clara tried to go back to normal. She really did. Monday morning, she woke up, showered, and headed to work like always. Except nothing was like always anymore. The black sedan parked across from her building that was new. When she walked to the subway, a man in a casual jacket followed half a block behind. Not obviously, but once you knew to look, you saw it. Lorenzo's protection. It should have made her feel safe. Instead, it made her feel like a target. At the diner, things were worse. Mel pulled her aside before she could even put on her apron. His face was pale, his hands shaking slightly as he poured himself coffee. Clara, we need to talk. What's wrong? There were men here yesterday. After your shift, Mel wouldn't meet her eyes. Big guys.
Suits.
They sat in a booth for 3 hours, didn't order anything except coffee, and asked Beth questions about you. Clara's stomach nodded. What kind of questions? When you work, who you talk to, if you have a boyfriend, where you live. Mel finally looked at her. Clara, what's going on? Are you in trouble with the mob or something? The word hung in the air between them.
Mob.
So Mel had figured it out, or at least guessed. It's complicated, Clara said quietly. Complicated? Clara, I've run this diner for 23 years. I know what dangerous looks like, and those men were dangerous. He set down his coffee cup with a trembling hand. I've got a family. Grandkids. I can't have mob trouble in my restaurant. Mel, I'm not trying to cause problems. I know you're not. You're a good kid. But that doesn't change the fact that scary men are watching my diner because of you. He rubbed his face tiredly. I'm not firing you.
Yet.
But Clara, you need to sort this out. Fast. The morning shift was torture. Clara felt everyone watching her. Beth kept shooting her worried looks. The regular customers whispered. Even Mr. Patterson, the elderly man who came in every day for scrambled eggs, asked if she was mixed up in something bad. No, Mr. Patterson. Just made some new friends. Friends don't come with armed escorts, sweetie, he said gently. Be careful. By noon, Clara's nerves were frayed. Then Sophia walked in. The diner went silent. Sophia entered with Vincent and 2 other guards, her cane sweeping confidently. She was smiling, completely unaware of the tension she'd just created. Or maybe she was aware and just didn't care. Clara, Sophia called out cheerfully. Are you ready for lunch? Every eye in the diner turned to Clara. She could practically feel the questions, the judgment, the fear. Beth stood frozen by the coffee station. Mel had retreated to the kitchen, probably calling his wife. Clara walked over, her smile forced. "Hey, Sophia." "Yeah, let me just grab my stuff." They sat in their usual booth. The guards took their positions. The other customers whispered loudly enough that Clara could hear fragments. "That's the blind girl? Every single day. Mob family, I heard." Poor Clara. Sophia must have heard it too, but she didn't acknowledge it. She just reached across the table, found Clara's hand, and squeezed it. "Bad day?" Sophia asked softly. "Something like that." "Want to talk about it?" Clara glanced around the diner. At the staring customers, at Mel peeking nervously through the kitchen window, at Beth who looked like she wanted to pull Clara aside and lecture her about safety. "Not here," Clara said. "Maybe we could walk instead?" "Perfect. I'll tell Vincent." They left the diner together, and Clara felt the weight of everyone's eyes following her out. Beth caught her arm at the door. "Clara, be careful," she whispered urgently. "I don't know what's going on, but those men who came yesterday? They weren't the nice kind of scary. They were the people disappear kind of scary." "I know. I'm handling it. Are you?" "Because from where I'm standing, you're way in over your head." Clara didn't have an answer for that because Beth was right. Outside, they walked toward the park. Vincent kept his usual distance, but Clara noticed more guards than usual. 2 cars followed slowly. A man on a bicycle seemed to be circling their route. "Your dad told you," Clara said. "It wasn't a question." Sophia nodded. "About the photos. The surveillance. He wanted me to stay home today, but I told him that's exactly what they want, for me to hide, for us to stop being friends." "Maybe he's right. Maybe it's too dangerous." "Clara, stop." Sophia stopped walking, turning toward her voice with surprising accuracy. "I know you're scared.
Papa told me he talked to you.
But if I let fear control my life, I'll never leave the house again. I'll never have friends. I'll never have anything except guards and walls and loneliness. But if something happens to you, something might happen to me whether we're friends or not." "That's always been true." Sophia's jaw set stubbornly. "But at least this way, I have something worth protecting. I have you." Clara's throat tightened. "I'm just a waitress, Sophia. I'm not worth all this trouble. You helped me cross the street when everyone else ignored me. You talk to me like I'm normal. You make me laugh." Sophia reached out, finding Clara's arm. "You're worth everything to me." They stood there on the busy sidewalk, people flowing around them, guards watching from multiple angles, and Clara realized she'd already made her choice. Days ago, really. Maybe the moment she'd first taken Sophia's hand at that crosswalk. "Okay," Clara said. "But I'm buying lunch this time. And we're getting tacos because your bodyguards look like they need to learn what real New York food tastes like." Sophia laughed, and just like that, the tension broke. They spent the afternoon eating tacos in the park, Clara describing the street performers and dogs and the way the sunlight filtered through the trees. Vincent and his team maintained their perimeter. Clara tried not to think about the surveillance photos, the whispers at work, the scared look on Mel's face. For a few hours, they were just 2 friends enjoying an autumn day. But when Clara got home that evening, she found something taped to her apartment door. A photograph of her and Sophia at the park.
"Today."
On the back, written in black marker. "Pretty girl. Easy target." Clara's hands shook as she pulled out Lorenzo's card and dialed his number. He answered on the first ring. "Clara? What's wrong?" "Someone left a photo on my door. With a message." A pause. Then Lorenzo's voice, cold and lethal. "Stay inside. Lock your door. Vincent is 2 minutes away." Clara did as she was told, but she couldn't stop shaking. This was real. The danger wasn't abstract anymore. It was a photograph taped to her door, a threat in black marker. She'd walked into Lorenzo de Luca's world thinking she could handle it. Now she was learning what that world actually meant. And somewhere in the city, People with bad intentions were deciding she was worth their attention. The clock was still ticking, but now Clara could hear it loud and clear. The next afternoon, Sophia insisted on going to Union Square. There was a farmer's market she wanted to experience, the sounds, the smells, the energy of people. Papa's going to say no, Clara warned over the phone. Papa already said yes. Reluctantly. But Vincent's bringing half an army, so it'll be fine. Clara wasn't so sure, especially after last night's photo. But Lorenzo had called her this morning, his voice calm and reassuring. They'd identified the source, low-level thugs working for the Boston crew, trying to make a name for themselves. His people had addressed the situation. Clara didn't ask what that meant. Extra security today, Lorenzo had said. Vincent plus 6 others. 2 advanced scouts. You'll be perfectly safe. So Clara met Sophia at Union Square at 2 p.m., trying to ignore the small army of guards positioned throughout the plaza. The market was crowded, tourists, locals, vendors calling out their wares. Perfect cover for threats, Clara thought, then pushed the paranoia away. She was here for Sophia, not to jump at shadows. Describe everything, Sophia demanded, her arm linked through Clara's. Clara obliged. Okay, there's a flower stand to our left, sunflowers, roses, something purple, I don't know the name of. Guy selling them looks like a hipster farmer. Beard, flannel, the works. Ahead of us, there's a woman with a baby strapped to her chest, buying apples. They wandered through the market slowly. Sophia touched fabrics at one stand, smelled herbs at another. She was relaxed, happy, and Clara felt herself relaxing too. Vincent shadowed them closely, but the other guards had faded into the crowd. Professional, invisible. Maybe everything would be okay. They were near the center of the plaza, by a fountain, when Clara heard it. A sharp hissing sound. Then smoke. Thick, gray smoke erupting from multiple canisters scattered throughout the crowd. People screamed. Clara? Sophia's hand tightened on her arm, her voice suddenly afraid. What's happening? Smoke bombs, stay with me. Clara's mind raced. The crowd was panicking, pushing in all directions. She couldn't see Vincent anymore through the smoke. We need to move. A man rushed past them, shoving Sophia hard. She stumbled, her cane clattering to the ground. Clara caught her, pulling her close. I've got you. Hold on to me. More smoke. The acrid smell burned Clara's throat. She could hear shouting, crashes, the chaotic sounds of people fleeing. But underneath that, something worse, purposeful movement. Footsteps approaching. Instinct screamed at her. This is an attack. They're coming for Sophia. We're going left, Clara said firmly, one arm around Sophia's waist. Trust me. 3 steps down, there's a vendor's table. We're going under it. Under. Now. Clara guided them down, practically dragging Sophia beneath a table that sold handmade jewelry. The tablecloth provided cover. Around them, people stampeded past. The smoke was worse down here, but at least they were hidden. Sophia was shaking, her hand clutching Clara's shirt. I can't see what's happening.
4 men.
Maybe 5. They're searching the crowd. Clara's eyes stung from the smoke, but she could make out shapes moving with purpose, while everyone else fled. They're looking for you. How do you know? Because they're the only ones not running away. A burst of gunfire. Not close, but close enough. Sophia gasped, and Clara pulled her tighter. Vincent. Sophia whispered. I hope so. Clara scanned desperately for an exit. The smoke was starting to clear slightly. 20 feet away, she saw an alley between 2 buildings. If they could make it there. A man's legs appeared beside their table. Black boots. Military style. Check under there, someone called out. Clara didn't think. She grabbed a metal tray from the vendor's display and swung it hard at the legs. The man yelled, stumbling backward. Clara yanked Sophia up and ran. Straight ahead, 8 steps, then sharp right. Clara commanded, half carrying Sophia. Don't slow down. They ran. Behind them, shouts. Ahead, the alley. 5 steps. 3. Someone grabbed Clara's jacket. She spun, kicking backward blindly. Her foot connected with something soft. A grunt of pain, and the hand released. They made it to the alley. Clara pressed Sophia against the wall, positioning herself in front. "Stay behind me, Clara. Just stay behind me." Two men appeared at the alley entrance. They had guns drawn, moving with military precision. Clara looked around frantically. Dumpster, fire escape, nothing useful. Vincent appeared behind the men like a ghost. One smooth motion and the first man was down. The second turned, but Vincent was faster. 2 shots, barely audible with suppressors. Both men collapsed. More guards flooded the plaza. Clara heard shouting, the sounds of a fight being won. Through the smoke, she saw men in dark suits moving with lethal efficiency. Lorenzo's people. Vincent ran to them, his scarred face tight with controlled fury. "Are you hurt?" "We're okay," Clara managed. Her voice was shaking. Everything was shaking. "Miss Sophia?" Vincent's voice gentled. "I'm fine. Clara kept me safe." Sophia's arms were wrapped around Clara's waist. "She protected me." Vincent spoke into his radio. "Target secure. I repeat, target secure. Miss Sophia is safe." Within minutes, the plaza was locked down. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Vincent ushered them to an SUV that had somehow materialized at the alley entrance. During the drive to Lorenzo's estate, Sophia didn't let go of Clara's hand. Lorenzo was waiting in the driveway when they arrived. Clara had never seen him move so fast. He pulled Sophia into his arms, checking her over with hands that actually trembled. "I'm okay, Papa. I promise. Clara got us out." Lorenzo looked at Clara over Sophia's head. Their eyes met, and Clara saw something there she hadn't seen before. Respect. And gratitude. Deep, profound gratitude. "Tell me," he said quietly.
So Clara did.
Haltingly, still shaking, she described the smoke bombs, the searching men, hiding under the table, running to the alley. Sophia filled in parts, describing how Clara had guided her, protected her, fought for her. "She hit someone with a tray," Sophia said, a slightly hysterical laugh escaping. "I heard the clang." "You hit an armed man with a serving tray," Lorenzo repeated slowly. "I didn't really think about it," Clara admitted. "I just knew they couldn't have her." Lorenzo studied Clara for a long moment. Then he stepped forward and did something completely unexpected. He hugged her. Brief, almost awkward, but genuine. "Thank you," he said quietly. "Thank you for protecting my daughter." Clara's throat was too tight to respond. Vincent approached, his phone out. "Boss, we got 2 of them alive. They're talking. Boston crew like we thought. Contract hit, amateur hour." "I want every single person involved," Lorenzo said, his voice dropping to something cold and deadly. "Everyone who knew, everyone who planned, everyone who funded. All of them. Already working on it." Lorenzo turned back to Clara and Sophia. His expression softened slightly. "Come inside. Both of you. We need to talk." As they walked into the mansion, Sophia squeezed Clara's hand and whispered, "You saved my life." "You would have done the same," Clara whispered back. "Maybe. But you actually did it." And in that moment, Clara realized something. She wasn't just Sophia's friend anymore. She was family. Lorenzo's embrace had confirmed it. Vincent's respect had sealed it. She'd crossed a line today, from civilian to protector, from outsider to insider. There was no going back now. Night had fallen by the time Sophia finally went to bed, exhausted from the day's trauma. Clara had stayed, at Lorenzo's insistence. Marie had given her a guest room, brought her clean clothes that somehow fit perfectly, and left a tray of food she was too nervous to eat. Now Clara sat alone in the luxurious room, staring at her phone. 17 missed calls from Beth. 5 from Mel. 3 from her mother in Florida, who somehow already knew something had happened. She didn't know how to explain any of this. A soft knock at the door made her jump. "Miss Mitchell?" It was Marie. Mr. De Luca requests your presence in his study. If you're feeling up to it. Clara followed her through the quiet mansion. They passed armed guards at every turn, more than she'd seen earlier. The estate was locked down tight. Lorenzo's study door was open. Inside, she saw Vincent and 5 other men, all of them with the same dangerous confidence, the same hard eyes. They looked up as she entered, assessing her with varying degrees of interest and skepticism. "Gentlemen," Lorenzo said, "this is Clara Mitchell." The men nodded. One of them, gray-haired, built like a tank, looked her up and down. "This is the waitress." "This is the woman who saved my daughter's life," Lorenzo corrected, his voice sharp. "Show respect." The man's expression shifted immediately. "My apologies, Miss Mitchell." "Thank you." "For Sophia." Lorenzo gestured to an empty chair. "Please sit. We've been discussing you." Clara sat stiffly, aware of all eyes on her. "Should I be worried?" "No." Lorenzo poured himself a drink, then offered her one. She shook her head. "We've been discussing your future. And Sophia's." "The Boston crew is handled," Vincent said from his position by the window. "We've sent a message that won't be misunderstood. But other families now know about Miss Mitchell. The situation has escalated." "Meaning?" Clara asked. "Meaning you're no longer just Sophia's friend in their eyes," the gray-haired man said. "You're a De Luca asset. You fought for her, protected her. In our world, that means something." Lorenzo leaned against his desk, studying Clara. "Today, you proved something I wasn't sure could be proven. Loyalty. Real loyalty, not bought or coerced or demanded. You acted on instinct to save Sophia, putting yourself in danger without hesitation. Anyone would have." "No," Lorenzo's voice was firm. "Most people would have frozen, or run, or tried to bargain. You hit an armed man with a tray and ran into an alley with no exit strategy except putting yourself between Sophia and danger." He paused. "That's not anyone, that's exceptional." Clara didn't know what to say. "We have a problem," Vincent said. "Miss Mitchell goes home, goes back to her normal life. She's exposed. We can provide security, but she's vulnerable. And families will keep testing, keep probing, looking for weakness." "So, what are you saying?" Clara asked, though part of her already knew. Lorenzo set down his glass. "I'm saying I want to offer you a position. Official. Not as an employee, not as someone on the payroll. As Sophia's companion. Her protector. Someone who lives here, under my protection, with full access to my resources." The room went quiet. "You want me to move in?" Clara said slowly. "To quit my job, leave my apartment, and just live here?" "Yes." "With a salary that would make your current wages look like pocket change. Private quarters. Security. Education, if you want to go back to school, we'll pay for it. Healthcare. Anything you need." Lorenzo's expression was serious. "But more than that, you'd be family. Under my protection. Under my name." "Boss," one of the men interjected. "Bringing in a civilian." "She stopped being a civilian when she saved Sophia's life," Lorenzo said quietly. "She's in this world now whether we make it official or not. I'm simply giving her the tools to survive it." Vincent spoke up. "Miss Mitchell, I've been in this family for 23 years. I've seen a lot of people come and go. Most want something, power, money, status. But I watched you today. You weren't thinking about any of that. You were thinking about keeping Sophia safe." He paused. "That's rare. Mr. De Luca is offering you something rare in return." Clara looked around the room, at these dangerous men who'd accepted her without question because she'd protected one of their own. At Lorenzo, who was offering her a life she'd never imagined. At the wealth and power and danger all wrapped together. "What about Sophia?" she asked. "Does she know about this?" "Not yet. I wanted to ask you first." Lorenzo moved closer. "But Clara, my daughter asked to see you again before she went to sleep. She asked if you were leaving. When I said I didn't know, she looked more scared than she did during the attack." Clara's chest tightened. "Sophia needs you," Lorenzo continued. Not because you can protect her, I have men for that. But because you see her. The real her. Not the blind girl. Not the Mafia princess. Just Sophia. That's something money can't buy. And what do you need? Clara asked. Lorenzo smiled slightly. I need my daughter to smile again. I need her to have a reason to leave her room in the morning. I need her to feel safe with someone who isn't paid to die for her. He paused. You've given me all of that in less than 2 weeks. So I'm asking, will you stay? Clara thought about her tiny apartment, her struggling existence, Mel's diner and broken shoes and counting pennies. Then she thought about Sophia's laugh, her trust, the way she'd held Clara's hand in the car and whispered, "Thank you." "If I say yes," Clara said slowly, "I need honesty. About everything. About who you are, what you do, what I'm really getting into. No more shadows and half-truths."
Agreed.
And I won't be a prisoner. I can still have a life, see friends, make my own choices. With security, Vincent interjected. Non-negotiable. With security, Clara conceded. And I want to talk to Sophia first. Make sure this is what she wants to. Lorenzo nodded. Fair enough. Anything else? Clara took a breath.
Yeah.
If I do this, I'm all in. I'm not going to half commit and then run when things get scary again. But that means you have to trust me. Really trust me. Not just as Sophia's companion, but as someone who's part of this family. You hit a man with a tray to save my daughter, Lorenzo said, something like warmth in his voice. I'd say you've earned that trust. The gray-haired man chuckled. Kid's got spine. I like her. Lorenzo extended his hand. So, do we have a deal? Clara looked at his hand, the hand of a powerful, dangerous man offering her a different life. A better life. A more dangerous life. But a life with purpose, with meaning, with Sophia. She took his hand and shook it firmly. Deal. Lorenzo smiled, a real smile, not the calculated ones she'd seen before. Welcome to the family, Clara Mitchell. Vincent raised his glass. To Clara, Sophia's guardian angel. The other men echoed the toast, and Clara felt something shift. She wasn't an outsider anymore. She was one of them. Tomorrow, her old life would end. Tomorrow, everything would change. But tonight, she'd made a choice. And for the first time in years, it felt like the right one. Morning sunlight streamed through the guest room windows when Clara woke. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then memory returned. The attack, Lorenzo's offer, her decision. She'd agreed to change her entire life. A soft knock at the door. Clara? Sophia's voice. Are you awake? Yeah, come in. Sophia entered, guided by her cane, but moving confidently through the unfamiliar room. She'd clearly memorized the layout already. Papa told me. About his offer. About what you said yes to. Clara sat up. I wanted to talk to you first, but he said, I know. He wanted your answer before getting my hopes up. Sophia sat on the edge of the bed, her face turned toward Clara's voice. Is it true? You're really staying? If you want me to. Want you to? Sophia's voice cracked. Clara, I've been awake since 5 a.m. afraid you'd leave. Afraid yesterday scared you away for good. Afraid I'd never hear your voice again. Clara took Sophia's hand. I'm not going anywhere. I promise. Sophia threw her arms around her, and Clara felt tears soaking into her shoulder. Happy tears, relieved tears. Thank you, Sophia whispered. Thank you for staying. Thank you for everything. They sat like that for a long moment before Sophia pulled back, wiping her eyes. Papa wants to know when you want to move your things. He's already sent people to pack your apartment. He what? He's efficient, Sophia grinned. Also, Marie wants your clothing sizes. Apparently, you need appropriate attire for family dinners. Her words, not mine. Clara laughed, the absurdity of it all hitting her. Yesterday, she'd been dodging rent payments. Today, she had people packing her apartment and buying her designer clothes. This is insane, she said. Completely, Sophia squeezed her hand. But good and sane. Right.
Yeah.
Good and sane. The next week was a whirlwind. Clara's apartment was packed, cleaned, and her lease settled, with a generous payment to her landlord that made him weep with gratitude. Mel was stunned when she gave notice, but when she explained she was moving to take care of a friend full-time, he hugged her and wished her well. Beth made her promise to stay in touch and demanded monthly coffee dates. Her mother called, confused but supportive. "You're doing what now? Living with a family as a companion? Clara Marie, please tell me this is legal." "It's legal, Mom. I promise." The guest suite in the De Luco estate became hers, bigger than her entire old apartment, with a bedroom, sitting room, and bathroom that had heated floors. Her sparse belongings looked lost in all the space, but Marie promised they'd fix that with shopping trips. Vincent taught her the estate's security protocols, the panic buttons, the safe rooms. She learned the guards' names: Marcus, Tony, Pete, James. They treated her with respect now, nodding when she passed, checking in to make sure she was settling in okay. Lorenzo gave her a credit card. "For Sophia, for yourself, whatever you need," and access to the family's resources. Clara stared at the card for 10 minutes, unable to comprehend having no spending limit. But the best part was Sophia. They had breakfast together every morning, walked the estate grounds every afternoon. Clara described the gardens, the fountains, the way the sunset looked over the Westchester Hills. Sophia taught her piano pieces. Clara taught her how to make the perfect grilled cheese. They were sisters in everything but blood. 2 weeks after moving in, Lorenzo called them both into his study. "Sophia has a doctor's appointment downtown tomorrow," he said. "Standard checkup. Clara, you'll accompany her." "Of course. Vincent and a full security detail will be present." But Lorenzo looked at Clara seriously. "The world needs to see that Sophia has someone besides bodyguards. Someone who cares."
Can you do that?
Clara nodded. "Absolutely." The next afternoon, they drove into Manhattan. Clara's heart raced as they approached the familiar streets, her old neighborhood, her old life. It felt like years ago, not weeks. The car stopped at an intersection. 5th and 42nd. Clara's breath caught. The same crosswalk where everything had started. "What is it?" Sophia asked, sensing her tension. "This is where we met. The crosswalk." Sophia smiled. "Really? Papa didn't tell me he was bringing us here." "He probably planned it," Vincent said from the front seat, amusement in his voice. They got out of the car. The afternoon crowd surged around them, just like before. But this time, everything was different. Sophia stood at the crosswalk, her cane in one hand. But instead of looking lost and alone, she was smiling, confident. She extended her other arm toward Clara. "Walk with me?" Clara took her arm. The light changed. They crossed together, bodyguards flanking them discreetly. But the crowd seemed to part naturally, people instinctively moving aside. Some stared at the guards, at Sophia's designer clothes, at the obvious wealth and power surrounding them. But Clara didn't care. She just focused on Sophia, on the girl who'd become her family, on the life that had bloomed from one simple act of kindness. On the other side, Sophia squeezed her arm. "Thank you." "For what?" "For stopping that day. For seeing me when everyone else looked away." Sophia's voice was soft. "You changed my life, Clara. You changed mine too." They stood there as the city rushed past them, two girls who'd found each other in the chaos. Clara thought about her broken shoe, her desperate rush to work, the moment she decided to stop and help. One decision, one crosswalk, one act of kindness. It had rewritten her entire future, transformed her from a struggling waitress into someone with purpose, family, and belonging. And in return, she'd given Lorenzo de Luca something he'd thought was lost forever: his daughter's smile, her trust, her joy. The world parted around them now, showing respect instead of indifference. But the important thing hadn't changed: Clara and Sophia, walking together, facing whatever came next. Vincent approached. Ready, ladies? Sophia grinned. Ready. As they walked toward the doctor's office, Clara glanced back at the crosswalk one last time. A young woman stood there, looking uncertain, while crowds rushed past her. Clara nudged Vincent. Hold on a second. She walked back to the woman.
Hi.
Need help crossing? The woman's face flooded with relief. Yes, please. Thank you. Clara guided her across, just like she'd done for Sophia. When they reached the other side, the woman smiled gratefully and hurried away. Sophia was grinning when Clara returned. Once a helper, always a helper. Someone helped me once, Clara said, taking Sophia's arm again. Changed my whole life. Figure I should pay it forward. Lorenzo had been right that first day. Kindness had consequences in his world. Dangerous consequences, complicated consequences. But also beautiful ones. One small act of kindness had rewritten Clara's future and brought light back into a powerful man's life. And as they walked into their next chapter together, Clara knew she'd make the same choice again. Every single time.